The Queen of Granada, by M. Riff. Chapter 73, The Cheese Blocks. Rita glanced at the heavy round cheese blocks the local passengers had placed on the overhead luggage rack at both sides. Some of them had shifted dangerously close to the edge, teetering on the brink of falling. When the bus swerved off the road, both passengers and luggage had violently jolted from side to side. Rita wished she knew the Spanish phrase for "watch out." She would have shouted it out loud. Suddenly, one of the cheese blocks plummeted, hitting the worn aisle of the old bus like a sledgehammer, rolling forward, and eventually toppling over. If the bus plunged, most passengers would likely be killed instantly, while a few might survive, albeit unconscious. Moments later they would regain consciousness in the muddy water, gasping for air, trying to wriggle out of the wreckage of the bus. Suddenly, another cheese block dropped and struck the floor, its impact feeling like a blow against their overstrained eardrums. What terrified them most was the bus's reaction to the block's movement. It tilted in unison. Finally, the cheese block toppled on its side just before the stairs down to the front of the bus. Rita kept a close eye on Donald Duck's beak, which moved like a pendulum with the wobbling cheese block. She was certain the bus was sharply balanced, and the weight of another cheese block could send it plummeting. She glanced at the line of cheese blocks on the shelves, ready to fall at any moment. She gently shook Tessa's shoulder and whispered, "Tessa, we need to act, before it's too late." Tessa remained silent, her face frozen in fear and her gaze vacant. Rita knew that Tessa experienced the image of her father and herself, hanging helpless in a dark void, without ceiling and without bottom, an image that had flashed past her eyes before they reached the bridge. Occasionally a confusing picture of an incident appears before people's eyes. Most people dismiss it, but Rita had learned that they were like dreams seen at night and that they could reveal an inevitable event. Sometimes people can see identical dreams. That was why Rita's sharp senses had captured Tessa's daydream as well. With great caution, Rita rose and maneuvered past Tessa's knees. Despite her efforts to be discreet, her movements caused the bus to sway, attracting the attention of fellow passengers. Several locals in the middle of the bus turned to her, gesturing for her to sit back down. Further ahead, a tourist shouted in English, his tone tense, "Please sit down." Rita recalled hearing those same words, tinged with irritation, when their plane had struggled to land in Malaga due to bad weather. The autopilot had failed during the initial landing attempt, prompting the pilot to execute a manual landing after circling above the airport. Passengers had been forced to remain seated with their seatbelts fastened for an extended period, leading to cramps in Rita's calf muscles. She had unbuckled her seatbelt briefly and stood up to stretch her legs when another passenger had shouted the same words at her.